introduction. I also like to take this opportunity to thank the PIURN committee for yeah. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the PIURN committee for accepting the abstract of our very preliminary work to be presented here today. Yeah, it's indeed a privilege to be here to be able to share our research endeavors and to be able to learn from other people's presentations. So I'm here to talk about our work, the evaluation of bioactive components of ethanolic extracts of selected Samoan medicinal plants. So the reason why we have decided to do research on this is because although Samoan medicinal plants have been investigated in the past, the potential of these plants to be a source of new leads and of drugs is not yet tapped into. So that is the purpose of our research, is to be able to investigate the potential of these plants by looking at the bioactive components of them. Is that loud enough? Yeah, so this type of work is very rare in Samoa. There's only one other research group that is working on medicinal plants, but they focus primarily on the microbial studies. That is, they look at the which microbes are being inhibited in growth by certain medicinal plant extracts. Other than that, there is no other existing research going on in Samoa on medicinal plants, which is very unfortunate because, needless to say, this is a very important field and significant part of improving our health care. This is evidenced in the many diseases that are being treated by pharmaceutical drugs, and also a report by the World Health Organization has stated that about more than 80% of the world's population is reliant on traditional medicine for their healthcare needs. And like many developing nations, in particular those in Asia and in Africa, Samoa throughout its history has relied solely on medicinal plants for their medicines for treatment of various illnesses. And up to date, there are still a lot of traditional healers in Samoa. Also, the members of the local community, all of these people hold extensive knowledge of traditional medicines and how each plant can be used to treat certain illnesses. So the overall objective of our research is to be able to increase awareness in the local community of the scientific of the science behind the medicinal plants, because the thing is, even though people have extensive knowledge on medicinal plants, they lack the scientific information so that they can have better understanding of the properties as well as the safety and the efficacy of their medicinal plants. So with that being said, that is therefore the reason we have chosen to carry out this work. And this is very preliminary, so we're not experts, but we are hoping that as we continue, we become very good at this and able to contribute to Samoa's development of novel drugs in the long run. So this is how we selected our plants for our investigation. We did this by interviewing elders, because in general, elders in Samoa are very knowledgeable in the field. I mean, in how plants are being used to treat different diseases in Samoa. But we targeted plants widely used in treatment of diabetes at the time, because it is particularly predominant and prevalent in the Pacific Islands, so we wanted to address that by looking at plants that are widely used by people to treat this. So many plants were suggested, but due to constraints on funds and also the availability of the plants themselves, we decided to just work on 8. And these are the plants we worked on, the asitoa, alualutai, the miracle leaf plant, the green tea, mamala, sasalapa, apulpulu, nonu fruit. And there are their scientific names. So as mentioned previously, one plant can be used for a variety of diseases. So all of these are not just for diabetes. There are other diseases that they are being used for. Sampling and preparation, we only collected leaves and fruits. We didn't collect any barks or... Yeah, so the leaves and fruits were collected and we washed them properly to remove any foreign substances that are attached to them. And then we air dried them at room temperature for a period of 7 days. We either did that or when the weight stabilized, we stopped drying them. And we went on with grounding them using stereomotor and peso to obtain a homogeneous sample. After obtaining a homogeneous sample, we macerated with ethanol, and then we removed the ethanol using the rotary evaporator. So the plants were identified by an experienced botanist with the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment in Samoa, and his name is Mr. Talie Folinga. Before we did the quantification of the different classes of the bioactive compounds, we carried out a phytochemical screening. This saves time from doing quantification because we don't want to waste the resources. So we detected phenols using the ferric chloride solution, saponines using the foam test, the tannins using the reagent GT solution, and those other chemicals we used for the remaining classes of the bioactive compounds that can be found in plants. The chemical analysis we submitted to the Scientific Research Organization of Samoa to use the UV vis. We don't have one currently at the university. And so it was a good thing that we did the pre-screening first because the quantification of glycosides and saponins was not possible due to unavailability of equipment. So here are the results we got from the UV vis analysis. So as you can see, the amounts of each of the classes of the bioactive compounds vary widely across the different plants. And one thing that stood out instantaneously was the green tea with the phenols, very high amounts of phenols. And this is consistent with claims that green tea is a very strong antioxidant. So phenols are very well known for their antioxidant properties. Okay, so those are the results we got, and we intend to continue our work and keep collecting data for baseline data for repository purposes. And we hope to not limit our studies to the medicinal plants because Samoa, there is a wealth of Samoa flora out there that have not been investigated that could be looked into for possible drug leads. Other things that we would like to do is to get reference samples of likely bioactive compounds and set up HPLC analytical methods. Because, for instance, phenols, there are so many different compounds in the phenol class, and not all of them could elicit therapeutic properties. So it's good to set up standards and run them. The other thing is to compare yields by traditional methods with yields from different plant parts, so different leaf ages and different plant populations. We didn't get the extract using the traditional method because at this point we just wanted to get as much out as we can. Ethanol is a very good extraction solvent. Methanol is better, but because methanol is toxic, ethanol is preferable. So we will look at the traditional methods for extraction next time. Before I finish, the other thing I forgot to mention is this sort of work is very important for Samoa and to do it in Samoa because we have had people come from overseas. For instance, we had the American scientists come over and done work on the Samoan medicinal plants. And also because the Samoans lack the scientific knowledge on these medicinal plants, they are not really aware of the full potential of each medicinal plant. For instance, back in the 1930s, the traditional healers were showing a renowned ethnobotanist, Paul Cox, that the mamala tree can be used for treatments of hepatitis. Paul Cox later on discovered that the extract of the mamala tree can actually be used for treatment of HIV/AIDS. So that was something that the traditional healers didn't know because they didn't have the information or the equipment or resources available to them for these sorts of investigations. Before I finish, I would like to acknowledge the university, the National University of Samoa's University and Research Ethics Committee for the funding of our research. Also for Varia Don Barassi, she was very helpful in carrying out or assisting us in collecting our samples, preparation and preliminary screening. Last but not the least, I'd like to acknowledge Desmond Lee Hang, who actually got us to be interested in this topic. Yeah. Yeah, we've only just started this, so it was that someone actually got us to be interested in it. So that's it. Thank you.